What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel. Today, we're going to be previewing, predicting another Week 0 matchup as we continue on our journey to predict every single game happening in Week 0 this year. It's the UTEP Miners and a new team to the FBS rank, the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. Hey, before we dive into this one, I just want to say thank you so much for the support on the channel this past summer. It has been phenomenal. You guys can continue to show support, and I'd like to see support for the channel continue to grow during the college football season as well. You can do that by subscribing, ringing the bell so you know when I upload all my content during the season, but there are more ways than that to help me support my channel. Hey, you're doing one right now by watching the video. You guys can do more by liking, commenting, sharing, anything else you guys may be willing and able to do to help me support my channel. All right, enough about me. Let's talk about UTEP and Jack State. This one's set to take place in Jacksonville, Alabama, the home of the Gamecocks, one of the best teams in the FCS ranks over the past, or I should say in recent memory, had a very successful season there last year. They bring their talent level to the FBS, to the Conference USA ranks. They're going to be taking on a very experienced UTEP team looking to build off of what they did last season. So, should be a pretty interesting one. Should be an absolute battle here in Week 0. Let's go ahead and talk about some statistics from both of these teams and from last season and how both these teams shake up entering 2023. So we are going to start with the UTEP Miners. They are, of course, the road team. And let's talk about this offense. Last season, definitely had their struggles. Struggled to get 400 yards per game. They did allow 2 sacks per game last season. Only 24 points per game. At times, struggled to run and pass the football and turn the ball over 21 times. That, again, is almost 2 turnovers per game for the UTEP Miners last season. So all in all, just the results on the offensive end and not there for this team. However, coming into 2023, much of the talent comes back. You do lose Ronald Watt at running back, but pretty much everyone else is coming back. Gavin Hardison, a redshirt senior transfer quarterback, is coming back. Should be a very, very, very good option for UTEP at the quarterback position. Deion Hankins is back in the running back position, and a slew of wide receivers. Tyron Smith debated leaving, ended up coming back. Kelly Akayari, Marcus Bellin, many other weapons will be returning for the UTEP Miner program on the offensive side. So this team is already loaded with offensive talent. It's got a lot of experience, a lot of great players. The offensive line is loaded with seniors. I would be surprised to see that not get better as well. Zach Fryer is a tight end that's a senior as well. This offense, I'd be shocked if those numbers do not get better this season. When you take a look at the defensive side, well, there was one thing that UTEP did really well last season. That was stop the run. We'll take a look at something here in a little bit, but they were a very effective run stopper. A lot of the big guys up front do come back. Praise Amaywool, Keenan Stewart, Tavita Tafuna, Maurice Westmoreland, Brighton Thompson. Even in the linebacker room, you got guys like James Neal, Tyrus Knight, many other players, even a lot of good experience in the secondary. While it is probably the youngest position grouping on the defense, it's not by much. Torrey Richardson, Kobe Hilton, Mikel Broussard. There are a lot of great players coming back for a UTEP team that was able to generate pressure to the quarterback and for the most part played a pretty solid brand of defense. The only problem was their offense just couldn't put up enough points to get as many wins they needed to make the postseason last year. So defensively, I also think with all the experience coming back, it's going to be a very well-rounded, experienced team for the UTEP Miners here in 2023. Now let's take a look at the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. Again, these numbers are an FCS competition. Remember that. They went 9-2 in FCS play last year, scoring 36 points per game, over 400 yards per game. But with Jacksonville State, it all starts with the run. And you got a ton of great weapons in the running back room to work with this season. Hey, Ron Wiggins is coming back to this team, is supposed to be leading that attack. But you have some other guys. Malik Jackson, Jawan Evans are transfers coming in. Kenyon Sims is another transfer coming into this program as well. There is a ton of talent in the running back room for the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. That's still probably going to be one of the best rushing attacks that even the FBS has to offer this season. Oh, and not to mention, you got a lot of great weapons at wide receiver, a very good quarterback in Zion Webb that can really sling it. It's going to be a very well-balanced, well-rounded offense that, again, does a good job at converting on third downs and preventing sacks as well. Now, when you take a look over at the defensive unit from the Jacksonville State Gamecocks, again, it was a pretty solid unit. I would maybe like to see them allow teams a little less leeway in the run game so that they can't march on down the field. But all in all, pretty solid defense from the Gamecocks last season. They forced 22 turnovers. They were a +2 turnover margin team. 27 sacks. That was almost 2.5 sacks per game for this unit last season. If you were to equate that out, they had 30 sacks if they were to play that extra game as an FBS caliber team. Again, you only play 11 in the FCS. If they were to play 12 like you do in the FBS, this team might have had 30 or more sacks last season. Did a pretty good job of limiting teams on the scoreboard, not even 23 points per game. And when you take a look at some of the weapons that they have coming back on the defensive end, a lot of experience coming back on the defensive front. You got a couple key guys, notably Jeremiah Harris and Colby Fuqua coming back in the defensive back room, and your fair share of transfers coming as well. Austin Ambush is a transfer into that secondary. In the linebacker room, Quay Drake is coming in to pair up with Lalatia Hale, and a couple other redshirt freshmen in that room. Jalen Swain being a junior there as well. So both of these teams, I think, are littered with offensive, defensive talent. I think this is going to be a very evenly played game. I think this is going to be a very close back and forth style game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Now, what do you need to watch for? That's something that we always talk about here. Give you 3 keys or things to watch for each team. First off, again, starting with the road team, the UTEP Miners. Hardison and company are going to make plays, and they're going to be making plays often here. Again, there is just a ton of talent on the offensive end for this team. It starts with the senior quarterback, Gavin Hardison. A ton of talent in the wide receiver room, one of the best wide receiver rooms that Conference USA has to offer. Deion Hankins sat behind Ronald Awatt last year, but performed excellently. You still got some other great talent in that running back room as well, even some transfers that are coming in here as well. This UTEP offense, I think, is going to be able to drive the field, going to be able to score their fair share of points against the Jack State defense that lost a lot of tacklers off of the team from last season. A lot of really good tacklers at that as well. But this was the key I was talking about earlier, and this is the big one that I think gives UTEP a pretty solid advantage in a certain aspect to this game. UTEP allowed 200 rush yards only once last season. That was against the Oklahoma Sooners. If you're going to beat Jacksonville State, you have to slow down that rushing attack. Needless to say, UTEP is well equipped to handle a Jack State rushing attack. A lot of big boys up front come back. They're going to be able to not only create pressure, but slow down this Jacksonville State run game. But you have to account for Zion Webb. Those big boys up front, hey, you can't just key on slowing down the run. Yes, it's the big thing, but Zion Webb has a lot of weapons and he can really sling it. So got to watch out for him as well. For the Jacksonville State Gamecocks, hey, mix up different looks in the run game. We just talked about how UTEP has the pieces necessary to be able to slow down a Jacksonville State rushing attack that dominated FCS for pretty much all of last season. But the Jacksonville State Gamecocks coming into this year, UTEP is going to be well equipped to handle that rushing attack. Jacksonville State's going to need to mix up their looks and really be able to switch things up on this UTEP defense. The offensive line, I think, is going to be able to give Webb plenty of time. They have a very, very experienced offensive line. Taking a look at it here, a lot of juniors and seniors, couple sophomores and freshmen there as well, but should be one of the best offensive lines Conference USA has to offer. They're going to give Webb plenty of time to take some shots and open up the run game as well. But again, you have to have your defense step up. I did mention a lot of pretty solid defensive talent, but they did lose a lot of tacklers, a lot of really good tacklers from last season. So that's one thing to watch for Jacksonville State, as now we take a look at kind of the lines and odds and my official game prediction. UTEP is the slight 1-point favorite as to this point. The slight favorite according to the Football Power Index. That's what ESPN puts out. It's a 5:30 game, Eastern Standard Time, CBS Sportsnet. It's going to be a very tight back and forth game. I really could see this one bouncing in either team's direction, but I am going to go with the slight favorite here, and 1 point sounds about right to me. I think UTEP, having what it takes to slow down the Jacksonville State run game and having all the experience they do on the offensive end, will be able to get that extra little advantage, and they will be able to win this game in week 0. So Jacksonville State will have to wait at least another week for their first win in FBS. Hey, that's going to do it for me on this game. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section down below. And as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See you guys in the next video. Goodbye.